3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Cedar Run Decoys. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
Happy to be here today, boys and girls. Beautiful day here in Texas. I think, my goodness, just can't get any better.
I'm going to have a freeze on Sunday night.
That's
Crazy.
okay. Just as long as the wind ain't blowing, I don't care.
Here we are today. We bet everybody wants to know about data centers, including me and Andy. I don't know how much Andy really wants to know, but I do want to know.
I know already.
You're the expert. With us today is an expert on data centers from the eastern shore of Maryland, Mr. Matt Roskam. Matt, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you, gentlemen?
I can't get any better. Like I said, turkey season's right around the corner. Looks like next week's going to be in the 90s, low 90s all week. So bring it, baby. I am over the cold.
I'm
What's
not ready
bad
for
is
90s.
in our neck of the woods, when the temperatures get nice in March and April, the wind blows about 45. So
That's
that
a
to
common
look forward
theme.
to.
We were 85 degrees here on Wednesday, and yesterday afternoon it snowed about an inch.
Oh, really?
It's Mother Nature is she's having perimenopause or premenopause, whatever you want to call it. She's going wild.
So when are y'all done with the cold weather? Is it April?
I was hoping we were done. We had that terrible snowstorm that turned into ice on top of everything that came early January, and really it was about 2 weeks ago before all that snow was gone. March is typically windy and miserable, and usually right there about the 1st of April or so, it starts to get tolerable outside, and we're just trudging through March trying to get there.
I hate this time of year.
It's your storm season, Jeff. Calm down.
It hasn't started. It's storm season don't start till middle of April. But when
did the tornado hit Wichita Falls?
April 10th.
Not middle, early April.
Well, but typically my storm chasing is about April 15th to June 15th, and I do like that part. But it's going to be hot, and then it's going to get cold, and then Michelle's going to be like, we got to get the pool ready for the grandkids, and so we'll get all the pool ready, and then it'll get colder and shit again for 10 days, and then the pool won't even be, nobody use it till June.
Hey, our mutual friend, Stoner, I saw he's back on the water now. I guess he's back with the dock guy, so I don't know.
When we say
That's
Stoner,
his miserable out there right now. I know that water temperature is still in the 40s, so any of that wind off the water is just horrible.
Be a miserable day.
Wear some bibs, Stoner.
Yeah, no shit. Okay, Matt. What we got to start out. What the hell is a data center, anyways?
All right, so data center, a lot of misconceptions of what it actually is. So if you can think about it, a data center is really the computers that run the internet. So it has all the storage, all the switches, everything that makes the internet run. So let's run through a quick scenario. Say you want to go to, I don't know, ducksunlimited.com.
Okay.
So you're going to be on your computer, on your phone. You're going to type it in. That request goes somewhere. So it's going to go through wherever Ducks Unlimited is hosted from. Say all their data or all their everything for their website is hosted through server A in, let's call it Texas. So your request is going to go through the pipeline, this magical pipeline of the internet, through all that fiber, and it's going to hit a switch. And that switch is going to say, hey, you want to go to ducksunlimited.com. How do I direct you there? It's going to pick the path of least resistance. So if there's a lot of people that are trying to go to the same site, it's going to have to pick which path it's going to get to, because that information is stored in more than one location usually. And then once it goes to these switches and it tells it, hey, you've got to take, let's say, fiber highway A to get to the server that's holding that data, your request is going to go through there. It's going to hit the server. The server is going to respond back with what you want. And then basically it's going to reverse itself all the way back through that pipeline to your device, whether it's your cell phone, your computer, your TV, whatever it is. So the data centers have all that information. They also have, say, all your banking information, all your cloud banking, cloud storage. So I've been to the cloud. It's actually a real place you can go to. It's kind of hot, kind of dingy, smells a little weird, but yeah, the cloud is just it's a data center. Any of your streaming services, so let's say your Netflix or your YouTube or your Amazon Prime, any of that stuff is all held at these data centers as well. And you've got to think that the number of people that are going to those sites, one singular server can't take all those requests and send the information back out at once. So the same, let's say an episode of On the Road with Boss was was held there, right? When we got so many people that want to go to it, one server can't handle that. So it's going to be housed in multiple places so it can make sure everybody has a seamless, fast transaction to get that information that they want. Also, all your social media is hosted there. So all your pictures that you upload to Facebook or any of those places, that information all has to be stored somewhere. And it's usually at a data center or in the cloud, as they call it. And then all your AI tools, which are essentially clusters of these servers that hold information that are networked so they work together to create a tool to take an information request, run it through everything that is stored in their system that they know, and output an answer for you.
Okay, but I have questions. And here's going to be the first question I'm going to have.
Okay.
We're doing all that now. And I just read today that they're building 409 data centers in Texas, which can't be true. Because that would be, there's 254 counties in Texas. That would be almost 1.5 per county.
Is that
so here's what
buildings?
you can consider. So data centers, that's a vague term. There's a lot of different size data centers. So in my last job, I evaluated data centers all over the world. And these data centers could be as small as, say, you're familiar with an IT rack, and you've probably seen these with the school system or something, or AV equipment. They could be as small as that, or they could be as large as, say, a campus, a million plus square feet with different buildings on it. That could all be construed as a data center. And I did a quick look, and it looks like in Texas now there's somewhere between 350 and 400 data centers that are online. And it's because they're coming online so fast, so the counts aren't exact. But you seem that number is really close, Jeff.
Okay, well, that's what I'd read today. This is one of the things I have. I'm like everyone else. Everybody signs these NDAs, so nobody knows what's going on. Thank God we got construction guys out there who do not understand what they sign, because they talk a lot. They talk a lot. One of the guys told me that the place in Abilene was going to be used for the Golden Dome over Antarctic, is what it was. That one, that's why we wanted Greenland so bad, is that's going to be a military one. I don't know if this is true. This is just hearsay from a guy that welds, probably, but that's what
or sweeps
or whatever he does out there. But I guess my biggest question is, we have all this stuff now and we haven't needed all these data centers. And I'm all for technology. I don't like it always, but we need it. I just don't understand. It seems like it's overkill.
It's the emergence of AI.
But
so the capacity is king. So in any data center, the capacity, what you have, what you're capable of storing, is basically what you're worth. If I can only store 500 files, I can only make money off of 500 files. And if somebody else came to me with data and I can't take it, well, you're leaving money on the table. And when it comes to AI, here's kind of the way that I've been told and to think about it is, let's go back to, say, World War II and the race to build the nuclear bomb. Mm-hmm. Okay, the first person there wins, right? And they kind of get carte blanche on what we do with that. I kind of see that's what's going on with AI, is we've got to be the top dog in the game to get to where it's going to go, so we can kind of control the destiny of everybody else as far as the AI goes. And if you're late, who knows what it might lead to. Is it kind of scary? Yeah, because I think it's a little unthrottled right now, and we don't know exactly where this is going. But that's kind of how I see what they're doing and why it's such a rush to push it all out there.
Well, that was the reason Elon Musk introduced Grok, is because he was worried about if he didn't get involved, that somebody would use AI for nefarious purposes. If you look at one of the recent shootings that we just had, it might have been Temple or Old Dominion. The shooter there used OpenAI to plan out their attack, and OpenAI helped him. And they thought about
the one that just happened yesterday.
And they thought about involving the FBI. They thought about alerting the FBI ahead of time, but I guess through whatever, they weren't allowed to.
That's ridiculous. They should be able to. So is this AI stuff?
Let me fact check myself.
Who's paying for this? You said because you only get paid so much. So who's paying the bill for this? Is the U.S. government paying the bill? Are we paying for the bill?
For the AI tools, or for
all this
data centers that are holding information?
Both.
So we're talking two different things there. So let's say an enterprise data center or a cloud service, say an AWS, a Microsoft, a Google, or somebody like that. They essentially build the capacity. We're capable of storing so much data or hosting so many services. And then Big Honker Lodge is going to say they want to launch this new website. You're going to buy cloud data storage from them. So you are essentially leasing spots in their computers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So anything when I use, like my accountant, or not our accountant, Quicken has went to AI, I believe. I think, and don't misquote me, but I think Quicken has went to AI. So when I pay my monthly service to Quicken, whichever $50, $100 a month, whatever I pay them, and they're taking $10 of that and they're paying to store it somewhere, probably a percentage. That part I understand.
So with the AI, from my understanding right now, is it's all these companies are building their AI tools, like you mentioned, Grok or a Chat GPT, and even the paid services right now, they say that doesn't even begin to touch what it actually costs to build or operate this. And what they're thinking is the hopes that down the road, those services will become so valuable that people are going to pay a premium to use them. So from my understanding, anybody with the AI is not actually making money off of those tools right now. That's someone like a Quicken or somebody, but yeah, that it supplements their business. Maybe they don't need quite so many accountants or data entry folks there, but the actual AI tools that I think it's all future-proofing itself in the hopes that down the road that these investments are going to pay off for them.
Okay, I just looked it up. It was a Tumbler Ridge shooting. The trans school shooter at Tumbler Ridge laid out an elaborate plan to commit mass murder to ChatGPT. Dozens of employees saw the plans and wanted to alert police, but were turned away by company leaders.
That's bullshit.
So
did they go through with it and kill some kids?
I guess, yeah. I mean,
that'd be able to sue their
the
ass.
trans shooter at the trans school shooter at Tumbler Ridge laid it out too. But anyway, like this was the whole reason that Elon wanted to get involved with AI, is to make sure that, I guess there was like an adult in the room, maybe, because if you ask ChatGPT how many genders are there, you get like 7, and then on Grok, if you ask that question, you get 2. So he wants to be the good guy in all this, I guess, if you think that Elon Musk is a good guy.
So my question, like Google's building the one at Haskell, and they bought Haskell a new fire truck. I think they bought him a new ambulance.
No, they're the ones leasing it. Because isn't that right, Matt? The way I understand it is a company will build these, and then Meta, Google, NVIDIA, they will lease the buildings from the company. Is that right?
Typically, yes. You'll have a developer, say like somebody that develops communities, but these folks come in and they use, a lot of times it's private equity money to get this off the ground. And they'll develop the data center that is capable of X capacity, and they'll lease that space to, like you said, to any of these folks that are out there providing services.
But going with your
and
question.
Usually it's long-term leases, so they're protecting themselves as well.
But going with your question, Jeff?
So Google, or whoever it is they bought the fire truck, they bought the ambulance, they gave the school $300,000 or something. How is Google spending $50 billion, $100 billion building data centers? Where are they recouping their money at? Because when I use Google, it don't cost me a dime.
No, but Google is also a cloud provider. So you can have your whatever services that are hosted on Google's cloud, back to what we were talking about, how you lease that service from them. So they're making money off of that. And the big three are AWS, Microsoft, and Google are probably your 3 top cloud providers out there.
But basically, like you said earlier, they have to expand what they can hold. Otherwise, they're leaving money on the table.
Exactly. So they've always got to be and they're forecasting that I'm sure there's a bunch of number crunchers sitting in their basement somewhere, mouth breathing, that are pumping this out, forecasting. We're at X capacity now. If we keep at these growth rates or expect certain growth rates, we're going to need Y capacity in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years down the road.
So they're playing the long game on this deal.
Yes.
We'll go straight into some of our questions. Water.
Okay. Yep. Huge topic.
Yep.
And water. So let's go back to
hold
a
on.
data center. We said what it was, but how does it work? Think of it. It's a giant power plant and cooling system that supports these computers. And water comes into play with those cooling systems.
How much water? And the reason why I asked is a General Motors plant burns through as much water as these data centers do in a day. Like they say to produce a car, it's like 9,600 gallons of water to produce each car. Some of these plants pop out 1,000 cars a day. So they go through a ton of water also. A farmer waters 200 acres. He's going through 50 million gallons of water.
For 45 days.
Yeah, in 45. So I just want to put that out there that the water use at these data centers is not no different than a GM plant or what a farmer's using also to water his crops. So now you go ahead and explain to what the water usage is at the data centers.
So the water usage all depends on the type of cooling system that they have. So like I said, it's a power plant and a cooling plant to keep, you can imagine all these computers generate an enormous amount of heat. And we've got to keep them cool or they're going to fail, right? So depending on the type of cooling system we have is going to determine how much water is used. Now, I am not an HVAC expert. I think I know enough to be dangerous here, but some of the typical ways that you're cooling these data centers are you have air cooling, which is kind of like the HVAC system in your house. You've got a large fan that is going to it has cold air that it's cooled in one of two different ways. It's either a dry cooler, which uses almost no water, or it uses evaporative cooling through a cooling tower, which uses a lot of water. So we cool that air, we pump it through the front of the rack, and it's exhausted out of the back. You have hot and cold aisles in these data centers. So we have to bring the cold air in the front of the rack, suck it out the back, and hopefully we've cooled the equipment in between there. And like I said, if it's using evaporative cooling with a cooling tower, you're using a lot of water. There's also now some of the newer hyperscale and AI data centers are using what they call a direct chip cooling, where there's a cold plate that is actually mounted in the CPU or the GPU, which is the computers or the servers, that has a liquid that runs through it, keeps that plate cool. And that liquid is going to go by heat exchange through this plate. The warm part of that liquid goes out into a heat exchanger where you have a facility loop or a house line that has liquid in it as well. It goes to the heat exchange process. The house line goes up to a rooftop unit that could be cooled with a dry cooler. They have some hybrid systems that actually use a little bit of water sometimes when it's extra hot, called adiabatic, or they could have a cooling tower as well. And now with those evaporation cooling, let's kind of look at, I ran through a quick calculation just in general to give you an idea how much water something might use. So let's say most of these data centers are measured in kilowatts or how much electricity they use. Let's say 100 kilowatts was roughly 10 to 20 racks or 1,000 square feet in a data center. That needs approximately 28 tons of cooling. So everybody kind of knows, hey, my house may have a 1-ton unit or a 1.5-ton unit. So that 1,000 square feet needs 28 tons to cool that down. If it's using evaporative cooling, plus or minus, you use about 1.5 to 2 gallons of water per ton per hour. And if you calculate that out, it's about 1,200 gallons a day to cool that 1,000 square feet.
That's not very much space either for that kind of water.
But that's only 1,000 square feet. So let's say a hyperscale data center, which is most of these big ones that they're building, which is 100 megawatts. They're using, if you take that same math and extrapolate it out, you're using about 1.6 million gallons a day if you had evaporative cooling.
And that's potable water?
Or is it's not potable. It's not drinkable water.
It's not drinkable. No. The water they're getting, does it have to be drinkable water, or can it be like so they could use gray water if they needed to?
You can pump junk water out of the ground, so you can go to that closest aquifer that's down in the ground. You're not worried about getting deep to get something super clean and tasty.
That's interesting.
So, but with that water, now you're bringing up another issue. If you've got crap water with a ton of minerals in it, what problems does that cause? You've got you're gonna have mineral buildup on your equipment, that might lead to another cost. But like I said, I'm not an HVAC guy. I just know enough to be dangerous when it comes to data centers.
Right.
So does that make sense on the water use? So if you've got a dry cooling system, you're using almost zero water, probably like 0 to 50 gallons a day for that same 1,000 square feet we were talking about. And then the cooling tower with evaporative cooling, that's on the extreme high end. So you're going to be somewhere in that range depending on your systems. Now, most of the new ones that are coming out that I've seen, and I have a good friend that actually designs these HVAC systems for data centers, they're using a combination of that direct-to-chip cooling and the air cooling. So you're using kind of both in the same spot.
This is what's confusing to me. These are the smartest people in the world building these things. And they had this big meeting of the minds 10 years ago, and they said, we got to have it's got to be cool so it can't be hot, and we got to have water to do this. Let's build it in West Texas because it's hot as hell, and they have no water out there.
Cheap land.
There's cheap land you can buy. You can buy Nebraska, Eastern Washington. They got a bunch of wasteland up there.
Yeah, but how many tax
There's a whole
breaks?
bunch out there, Jeff, in Eastern Washington and in Portland, or not Portland, in just below the Columbia River there on the Oregon side. There's a whole bunch of data centers out there too. That desert.
That makes more sense to me than Texas does, because Andy was saying cheap land. So I was thinking of places that have wasteland. Same to me. I don't understand why they don't put all the solar stuff in Nevada and California around the borax area where there's shit. Nothing can grow there anyways. This all around Las Vegas, they could put a big mirror there and do it all for the whole country.
But then you're going to have to run lines to do all that. You're going to have to run lines from Nevada, like you said, Nevada to New Hampshire. That's big.
You got to have the fiber backbone, the electricity. So let's look at Northern Virginia. That's where I did most of my work with data centers, and that's the highest concentration of data centers in the country. There's over 600 just in Northern Virginia, and the reason that they started there was, one, because that's the best fiber optic lines in the world were there. There was more connectivity just outside of DC than anywhere in the world. It wasn't prone to natural disasters just in that area. They had readily available land at the time when they started, and they had a lot of electricity. And then there was a bunch of incentives to help bring folks in there. And now that's kind of and also it was the proximity to Washington, D.C., because some of the early adopters were government clients.
Right.
So that's kind of where that started. And now we're expanding out to, hey, we need land, we need power, we need fiber optics, we need a place where we can get this approved. And
well, that makes sense and why Texas would do that. What are the ones in Northern Virginia operational now and running?
Are they done?
They're constantly building there. So there's over 600 that are online there now, and they're still building anywhere they can put them.
What's the workload like? Because that's one of the big things out here is there's going to be 50,000 people working out here in this within 100 miles of us for 3 to 5 years, however long. But it sounds to me like it's going to be a never ending, completely just keep building and building and building. So there's going to be all these guys building forever out here. What's the workload at these once they open? And we'll take, for example, the one they're building between outside of Haskell, I think is 1 million square feet. So it's going to be one of these hyper centers. How many actual employees, full-time employees, will be employed there once it's done and open? Probably,
I would say somewhere between 150 and 200 at the high end.
See, that's a positive.
There's way less people in these places than you think. When you walk in, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, but that's a positive for us because we don't have anything that's got 150 employees. Can you think of anything, Andy?
No.
And those are going to be jobs with good benefits, high-end jobs to janitors. They're going to have everything in between. And if every one of these data centers is providing 200 full-time good jobs, that's the upside for our area, because otherwise we wasn't going to get that.
Yeah, and I would got to think places like you guys out there in West Texas, you couldn't support 5,000 people full-time right now. You don't have the infrastructure for it. So this might be kind of a good jumping off point to bring in those good paying jobs. Like, yeah, I live on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. There's not a ton of 6-figure jobs on the Eastern Shore. So that's why most of my work was DC, Northern Virginia, and I'll happily go there and work. But when I come back home, I like to live out here because it's God's country. It's quiet. It's a great place for my family, my kids. And we don't have the land to sprawl out like y'all do down there.
The biggest concern most people in our area have is the RV centers, the gypsies coming in. And a lot of those are good people, but you're also going to have some riffraff there. And it's the unknown of what we're going to be having. Towns don't want 15,000 migrant workers in town that are going to be here and live in an RV all the time. And I know that sounds makes us sound like assholes, but do you want that, Andy?
Mm-mm.
And I don't know if anybody, and that's one of the big problems, but I think the positive side is in 3 years when this is done, we're going to have a couple of hundred good jobs out here. We'll have some good families that'll move here and build a new house. And that's the upside. It's getting to that point that's going to be the problem. And the water concerns. I mean, we're a drought ridden place a lot of times. We're either way, way wet or we're fixing to be in it. We're always headed to the next big drought. And I know up around Quanah and Childress, they're fixing to build, I think they're building a couple in already, and they got 2 or 3 more in line. They don't have no water. They're down. I think their lake's down to 10 or 12% right now, Greenbelt.
They're going to take it out of the aquifer.
Well, how long until that's gone?
I mean, that I don't know. But that's the plan is,
but the extra,
I know in our area, they're not going to take it out of our lake. They're going to drill wells.
But what about the extra 20,000 people that are drinking water every day?
Well, that's going to come out of the lake.
Or the extra, I was mayor of a town for a long time, and Knox City isn't having the growth that Mundy and Haskell is, but you've got an extra, I think Haskell's going to probably have an extra 1,000 RVs there. Well, someone's got to flush their shitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a lot of extra waste we have to use too. So that's the deal from the people that live out here. That's a lot of their concerns. And you're making me feel better about what these data centers are, because Andy spouted off, and I've had to answer to this 12 times about the alien technology, because I said I think there's some nefarious actions with this, and I think that they're gathering energy to make some kind of energy weapon out of it. I just cannot understand why we need 10,000 data centers today that we didn't need 3 days ago.
AI, baby.
I understand, but I just can't imagine there's that much more shit going to be out there on data. I mean, I've got to buy data storage for my phone all the time. Is it on my phone or is it somebody else's place?
No, it's not on your phone. That's if you're buying, say, for like your Gmail or something, when you pay for that, that's hosted in a Google data center. So you're buying storage in these sites and you might not even know it.
You're part of the problem, Jeff.
Yep, I'm just a renter.
Cut down on how much you need in the cloud.
It just seems to me that we're going way extreme for people to store videos of their grandkids, to look at porn, and to gamble online or whatever they're doing on that. We can't do that here.
Well, I mean, just think about it. Like you said, streaming services. How much have we seen streaming services expand what they do compared to 5 years ago? I mean,
that's all I do is stream.
Just the streaming services alone. I mean, and that's just going to continue.
Part of these data centers,
right? That's just going to continue to grow.
When I watch YouTube TV, I never had thought about this until just now.
Streaming.
I'm not like what it used to be, where I were watching TV that's broadcast somewhere. Every football game I watch is streamed, and that all has to go through a data center.
It's at a data center somewhere. And when I was doing evaluations of these data centers, I could walk in, and I used to be able to look at the racks and be like, oh, hey, that's Netflix, or that's Amazon Prime in those racks based on what technology they were. And there's tons of them.
Now, dust is a big problem with these data centers too, isn't it? Like, you got to keep the dust down, because I think what I've heard is there's a guy, and it's his job for 12 hours a day. He gets on a water truck and just drives down around these data centers, pumping water on the.
Well, he's going to be busy in Texas
on the dirt road, so that dust isn't a factor. And I'm sure that they don't want to piss off everybody in town. You know what I mean? By having all these truckers going down the dirt roads and having dust all over the place. So, but that's his job. Drives down the road spraying water.
Concern during the construction for sure, keeping the dust down. But that, like Jeff said, that those 5,000 people that are building that data center, that's a temporary problem. And then you've got your permanent jobs, and then there's always upgrades. I mean, they're always doing a new HVAC upgrade or a new electrical upgrade, or we're bringing in new racks or new technology. So there's a lot of jobs to be supported with these places for sure.
I guess we're going to be seeing our tech schools are going to start having jobs that are data center jobs to be trained at these tech schools. So if I was a young kid, 18, 19 years old, I would try to get into this program, because you could do a whole lot worse than going to work for Google or somewhere when you're 21 years old.
We can talk some of the jobs that are full-time jobs in there. Probably the The lion's share is going to be your facility engineers, those folks that are taking care of the electrical systems, the HVAC, all that. Because if it gets too hot in there or you have power go down, that's not good, right? And then you've got your network engineers that are making sure all those network pathways stay open, working on the switches, monitoring the fiber traffic, troubleshooting any connectivity issues. The IT hardware techs, so their computers, their pieces like anything else, they can fail. They're constantly switching out drives, managing cable, putting in new racks, that type of stuff. There's logistics folks, because they're changing out all these racks. There's constantly new equipment coming and going from these data centers, and everything, the chain of custody, because it's information and intellectual property, is huge. If a drive gets lost, like that's like the end of the world. They have all hands on deck to find it. From when that drive gets scanned into the data center till it gets destroyed all the way, they know exactly where it is the whole time. So the logistics people have a huge job, and security. So that's really where I made my bread and butter was security. The security at these places is outstanding. So they've got guards, a lot of full-time guards, 24/7 at the entrances, checking on the video surveillance systems for the access control, doing roving patrols, all that type of stuff. And then your operations staff, the folks that are keeping everything going. And of course, you've got like janitors and then all of your subcontractors that come in as well. So it's not a ton of full-time employees for the size of the building, but there's a lot of jobs there. And like you said, they're very good paying jobs. So
how did you come into the security aspect of this building?
So when I graduated college, I was in the Army. I was an Army officer. I did a bunch of Army schools, did some deployments. And when I came home from doing all that, and it was time to get a real world job, I was overqualified for everything.
Yeah.
And so through high school and college, summertime, I had done security work for a friend of mine's dad. So I went back to what I knew. I went back to the security industry, and being a go-getter and not just happy with the status quo. I moved up as a project manager, moved on. I was working for a manufacturer teaching classes on low voltage wiring, how big access control systems work. And then I got recruited into the security of the data centers when I went to teach them a class. And then I got into doing evaluations of the security operations of these data centers. And that took me all over the world checking them out.
So from the security aspect, what do you have to worry about? I mean, are we worried about a foreign entity coming in and stealing how we're doing stuff? Or are we like how we're getting the data centers online? Or are we more worried about them getting in and stealing our information somehow?
Stealing the information.
Right.
Obviously, yes, the trade secrets, the technologies used, systems used from the data centers, how they operate, that's proprietary and they don't want that to get out. Mm-hmm. But your actual information, so say your social security number, your credit card numbers, everything about Andy Shaver is hosted somewhere in these data centers.
Right.
So getting in there, would be extremely lucrative for somebody that was a bad actor to do so. So they protect it, and most of these cloud services, when you buy cloud storage, they sell security as that's basically one of the goods you're buying indirectly by hosting your data with whoever it might be, is their security protocols and knowing that what you put on there is going to be safe.
So whenever we see like an email or whenever we get like an alert, like your private information might have been hacked, is that a data center that had been compromised and that's why they're having to send that out?
No, usually that's not from somebody hacking into a data center, because there is teams and teams and teams of folks that are on the network security side that are looking for those people that are, they're always attempting to break in themselves to find backdoors that they might not have thought about. Mm. But that's usually somebody leaked it. They send a file or an email to the wrong person, or they left it somewhere where it was accessible.
Right. So that's not necessarily that China's now got your information or anything. And that was another thing that I'd heard. The big push for the data centers is either we're going to get to it first or China's going to get to it first. And then somehow we would have to send all of our information through a Chinese server, and they would just basically pick off all of our intellectual properties that way.
And that's entirely possible. I mean, their ethics are not what we consider the status quo here in the United States, but I can tell you from the data centers I looked at, their security is incredible. It's way surpasses. I've been in and out of the Pentagon. I've been in and out of National Security Agency, all these different government sites, just by the nature of living outside of DC and working in this area. And the security of these data centers is far surpasses most most government sites out there.
Right. Are any other countries going all in on the data centers, or are they just going to rely on America to do all of this?
Oh, absolutely.
They are.
In my travels, I've been to Europe, I've been to Japan, Singapore. Luckily, I never had to go to India. There's a lot of data centers in India. There's in Indonesia. There's quite a few over in Europe, and they're also based over there because of needs. So, say if you're in Germany and you want to watch something on Netflix, does it make the most logical sense for your request to go all the way across the Atlantic Ocean to Texas before it gets back to you?
Right.
So they're based around population centers as well.
Right.
And there's a ton in China. There really is. So we had my team, we had an Asia Pacific team, and there was certain guys that they would go into China, but they'd have special laptops that were air gapped to go in there and do these assessments and inspections because they didn't want any information shared back across, or maybe any kind of bad malware getting out that was disguised as something else.
Yeah. Do you see any future problems with the emergence of the data center? I mean, are you at all worried about what AI is going to look like in 3 to 5 years?
I think there's always a concern. And I feel like that's going to be upon, I mean, if we can put any trust in our government leaders to kind of set the bounds. Mm-hmm. But we've also got to think these other countries and what they're developing. What are they doing? They're not setting any rules. So like I said, it's kind of that race. How do we get to, I don't even know what the end goal is, like what anybody's looking for. And I really don't think the AI companies know what the end goal, what they want to reach is. We're just kind of turning it loose and see where it goes. And that's kind of the scary part. But am I worried about AI taking my job? No. At the end of the day, yes. Is it going to replace some jobs? Yes. But look what happened when we started building different factories and we had the production lines. That took certain people's jobs. But you know what? We adapted, overcame, and went down the road better as a society for it. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes. But I'm not particularly scared that AI is going to come into my house like the Terminator or anything.
I'm going to ask this. This is not nothing to do with the tech part of it, but just the overall. One of these things catches on fire, and it's going to happen. They say you can't even hardly put out an electric car on fire. Now, this doesn't have the batteries and stuff that the electric car does it in them?
So, that's another thing. We didn't really touch a whole lot on the way the power works. But yes, there is batteries or UPSs that are in. And basically what they are is, say we've got our street power coming in off the grid, right? That's our primary source of power. And as that goes in, we're charging batteries. And the batteries are only to be a failover until your backup generators can get running. And then the generators would take over from there. But so no, that was one thing when I got into data centers, I was kind of surprised. I was expecting these giant, huge battery rooms and layouts, and it's not nearly what you would think it is. Yeah, there is batteries, but what it's made to do is just be that stopgap for like the 20, 30 seconds that it might take for that failover to go in place, not to run anything long term. So a little bit different setup there.
Okay, now
so what are the lithium storages that I think we're going to see some lithium battery storages? They're the size of like a cargo container on a ship. What are those?
Lithium's that's a battery technology. Typically, you've got lead acid was the batteries forever, and that's probably what's in your car is there's plates of lead, and then there's acid in between it, and the chemical reaction that happens between the two. stores the electricity somehow, some kind of magic. But lithium is another technology more similar to. I mean, Andy, you did a lot of home improvement. The battery technology on these drills, or Milwaukee or DeWalt or whatever, got extremely good because they use a different technology, and lithium is just a different technology in the battery.
Yeah, so I guess, let's see here. Knox County Moore Storage is an active 77 MW battery energy storage project located in Knox County, operating within the ERCOT grid.
Oh, wow. It's 77 megawatts.
Yeah.
So while we're touching on power, we can kind of talk about usually break down like power usage of a data center. So a hyperscale data center that we're talking about, which is 500,000 to 1 million square feet, somewhere in between 5 and 10,000 racks in there. That's 100 megawatts is usually about the power usage it takes for one day to power one of those. Let's see, what could you compare that to? That's probably, it could be up to like 100,000 houses that could power.
Oh, wow.
That that thing in Knox County can?
That's a lot of power. Do you have a lot of solar out there? I wonder if they're trying
to we're getting
store that solar energy.
Yeah, so that was another thing that I was going to ask. It's interesting that all of the data centers, a solar farm has popped up pretty close to where they're building them.
There's a mile between those. That battery center that you're talking about, there's solar around like Scott Lake. In that, or within a mile of each other,
because there's 2 data centers coming in, and they're going to be probably 5 miles apart. No, probably 15 miles apart.
Which ones?
Well, the one east of Mundy, and then the one southeast of Weinert.
That there'll probably be 10 to 20 miles max.
20 miles, okay. And then I know there's a solar facility that's going to be built, and it's going to be built on the west side of Mundy. So.
It's right there at Scott Lake is where they're building it.
No, they're building it.
Oh, yes, you're right by Rhineland. They're building a solar deal there, but they're also building one over by the golf course, I heard, too.
Right.
Over by Scott Lake, and they're building that. And then they're building a nuclear power plant at Matson, which is south of there about 10 miles. But I don't know what kind of nuclear. All I've heard is they're building a nuclear power plant, which should be huge news, but because everything else we're not talking, they've did the dirt work on it. I didn't know they were building very many new nuclear. Is this going to be like a mini nuclear facility, or will it be a big nuclear power plant like 3 Mile Island? And those take a lot of water too, don't they?
I think they do for their cooling. I know a lot of, so another former colleague of mine, he develops a lot of data centers now. And the big thing is they're going to places that allow them to generate their own power, whether it's one of these solar farms or not. So I wonder if the same developer that's looking to build that data center is involved in that solar farm and is going to be able to sell the power to the data center to take some of the strain off the grid as well.
Right, and they wouldn't have to pay as much in electricity costs either.
So that's usually negotiated at your local government level. A lot of times there's electric tax incentives.
Yeah.
You could have an exemption, which means you're not paying some kind of partial exemption or the standard rate. That was another one of the huge draws in Northern Virginia, why that became such a hotbed, is they did 2 things to attract a lot of data centers. Is they cut the sales tax on data center equipment. So all those racks that were coming in and out, they made it cheaper to do so. And then they made it very palatable for them to purchase electric up front. And of course, now people are crying foul on the back end. But if we're allowing these data centers to generate their own electricity, which seems to be the direction they're going, that takes the strain off of there. And then I know the president said in his State of the Union that with that, he was looking for some legislation that would allow the data centers that have excess electricity to become a regulated utility and sell that back to the grid, which would also help out. So I think the power concerns there, people realize that's one of the major community qualms out there, and they're trying to alleviate that by generating their own power or providing solutions to boost the grid around them. But when you do that, the only thing that's in between is that infrastructure, and who owns that? Who owns the power lines?
See, that is a big issue out here. Is people complaining about, they're worried about the electricity. Are we going to have rolling blackouts as this is going to happen? Well, If those people are building their own grids and their own structure, I got no problem with that. But if they're using the same electricity we're doing and I have to pay tax on it, they should pay tax on their electricity just like I do for usage, the same as any other business does.
But they're buying so much of it that they get the tax break.
They shouldn't get a tax break on their electricity, though.
Well, they did in Abilene. That was one of Riley's big problems.
And I agree with him on that. I understand giving them a tax abatement on their land that they're doing and what they're building, but if they're buying something like city water and electricity, they should have to pay the same as me and you do, especially if we're going to be a lack of it and we're going to be lacking. Now, if they're building their own grids and stuff, they ain't got to pay nothing for it. That's their electricity. Mm-hmm. But if they're using the same grid that we're using, they should pay the same taxes on their dollars the same as we do on their electricity.
Right.
Do you not agree?
Yeah, I do.
The gin and O'Brien, when they bought electricity, and they used to spend a lot of electricity just on a damn cotton gin. They paid the same taxes me and you do on it. And that's what I want to, it's not fair for them to use. I mean, we're talking about, you said that thing's the size that
100,000 homes.
Yeah, 100,000 homes. That's more homes than we have in 4 or 5 counties around here. If you took King, Stonewall, Knox, Haskell, Baylor, Ford, you're still going to have to add some more into them.
Right.
And that's just a lot of electricity and a lot of usage. It's such an I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. It's just a path we've never been down before. So nobody knows what we're getting into. And that's why I was interested when you told me about those ones in Virginia. They're already operational. How that has affected the community once they're open. How many jobs do they have? And that's a congested area anyways up there.
Yeah. So where most of them are located in Northern Virginia, have you ever flown in or out of the Dulles Airport?
No, just Baltimore.
Okay. So they're by Dulles. And 20 years ago, there wasn't hardly anything out there except for the airport. There's a few Civil War battlefields out there, Bull Run, Manassas, some of that, some historical stuff, but it was just farmland. So that land was cheap, but the proximity is close to DC. I mean, you're 30 miles, less than 30 miles from like the DC Beltway there. And then it just blew up from there. They put in all these incentives to make it available for the data centers to build. And now you've got booming economies all around it. You've got housing, there's everything around there. Shopping centers. It's kind of the suburban sprawl developed around these data centers.
I would like to know what it looked like whenever they were building it. Was it RV city like what we're seeing here in our little neck of the woods when everything was going on? The development
I don't think so, because between Maryland, DC, and Virginia,
right,
and West Virginia, all being within commuting distance there,
right,
you just had these big general contractors and their subcontractors. Folks were just commuting in there. So,
right,
and all the ones that I've seen that are new, there's no tent cities or man camps or anything like that popping up.
A general contractor out here told me that they've never seen the price gouging that there's taking place in our area anywhere else.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
But it's because when you were 30 miles from DC, there was 1 million people live 30 miles away. So it was fine. You could find places to stay. Here, there's nowhere to stay at all.
Like they're talking about in one of the data centers that's about 30 minutes from us, they're talking about building a 4,000. I don't know if it's home or occupancy, but we'll say it's
4,000 man camp.
4,000 total man camp. Then there's going to be another one about 20 miles north of that, approximately the same size. So I don't know. And then what's going to happen when everything's done? Are they just going to be a bunch of buildings out there that I don't know?
In Abilene, I think they just passed a council meeting or something there. I saw they're building a 2,700 spot RV camp for 2,700 RVs. I can't even imagine that. That's one big windstorm away from having a major problem.
So these are the things that most people are worried about, is like all of these, for lack of a better term, gypsy workers coming in for 3 to 5 years, and then us having man camps all over the country, and then 5 years down the road, they're done, and then what's going to be left of, I guess, the man camps? Sell them? I don't know, apartments. But if, just like you said, though, in your neck of the woods, now these places are sprawling urban developments. where it used to not be that way.
They're nice. It can be expensive to live there, but I mean, what around Northern Virginia, DC isn't expensive, but there's everything. They're full-on communities out there. They're very nice.
Yeah. I know it's just like housing is so crazy right now, especially like, I know a house like, see, this is where it gets messed up in my mind because I bought 2 homes and I've got a really good deal on both of them. And like now a house similar to my house just sold for like $300,000. And that's about 10 times what I paid for mine.
So are you going to sell yours for $300,000 and start again?
Well, we don't. Where am I going to go?
I know that's a problem.
I gotta take that $300,000 and I gotta buy something else
and add another 100 to it.
Right. So I think that's just what it's kind of crazy, especially like most of the big employers in our area are hospital and schools. Well, there's not many teachers that are going to qualify for a $300,000 note.
Or could afford the note.
Right. So that's where it's going to get tricky in our area.
We just, our little towns were all dying before this happened. This is what, it's a godsend in some ways, and in other ways it's bad. I feel sorry for the single mom living out here, or the family that's just dad and mom both work and they're laborers somewhere and they don't make much money and they got it just enough to pay their rent, which you could rent a house for $500 or $600 a month here. And now those houses are renting for $3,000 a month. So when their lease is up, then people are booting them out, which I don't blame the little guy who owns the house because he's best time to make some money for the next 2 or 3 years while this is going on. But those people don't have nowhere to live now, and they can't afford to go nowhere else. They need to go find some other small town in the middle of nowhere that's dying, and there's not a lot of them around. And there's not a lot of them that have a hospital there. That I mean, it's a very weird situation in our little area, which is really unique. That all of a sudden, people are paying as big a rent prices here as they are anywhere for what you're getting from what it was just a couple of years ago. I'm assuming this is probably about what North Dakota was like when the Balkan field came out and the oil field in the 90s or 2000s when all that happened. That's about what we're dealing with right now.
And what you're describing, I don't think is as isolated to Texas as you think. I mean, around us. So my wife and I, we bought this farm in 2018 and we built a house on it. And then in 2020, there was a mass exodus of folks out of New York were coming down here because they wanted to sprawl out and be away from, they didn't have to work in the city anymore. So what we paid to buy our land and build the house more than doubled in 2 years. But then, like Andy said, I couldn't sell the house, even though I've got a huge windfall of profit in it. I couldn't sell the house and go get what I have for the same amount of money.
No, not at all. But
and the rent's going crazy around here too. I see folks there's different social media pages and they're looking like, hey, we're just looking for a modest 2 or 3 bedroom. And I see the prices they're paying for that. It's more than my mortgage. And I'm like, holy cow.
Can you imagine the people getting out of New York City now? I just saw where they were having mass exodus leaving, and they're Mr. Allah Akbar, their mayor, is blaming it all on the rich people are leaving, so we're going to increase taxes. Well, that's the reason people are leaving. You keep increasing taxes. They can't afford that shit. He said
they're in trouble up there.
They said average daycare for a child in New York City, guess how much, Andy? Per child. For a year's daycare.
Oh, a year?
For a year for a child.
$40,000.
For one kid?
Yeah.
$40,000 a year?
I was gonna figure $3,000 a month. Let's say $1,500. I'll revise.
It was $20,000 a year, which I thought was a lot.
I was gonna say $1,500 a month.
That's $18,000.
That doesn't seem crazy. I'll tell you, I've got a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 18-month-old. Don't ask how that happened. And the 18-month-old, he goes to do a daycare during the day, and I just doing the taxes. I looked at it, and we paid a little over $16,000 last year for him.
Yep.
That seems that's
crazy. And that's pretty reasonable because we live, like I said, we live on the shore. Now, if we lived on closer to Baltimore, I bet you we'd be up over 20 like you're talking about, no problem.
Shit, you go to the inner city of Baltimore, $347 a year, you can get somebody to watch your kid.
They have vouchers. They don't pay you that. I've done work in some of those places in previous careers.
What's the sketchiest place you've worked at?
Baltimore.
Oh my gosh. So I did security work, right?
Yeah.
So the one company that I worked for, our niche was affordable housing.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I've been out of probably the worst situation I was in DC, just southeast DC. Oh my gosh, it was bad.
What happened?
I mean, we were working in the projects, but you know what? A lot of these places, there's some good people in there, and I found if they gave you shit and you gave them shit right back, they would respect you. And
Right.
You wouldn't have any problem anymore. And like, I'd have crews working, and they'd be complaining, "Why are you drilling so early?" or this and that. And I was like, "Ma'am, you don't have to live here." And she's like, "Well, you're right."
So what happened in this instance that was the sketchiest you've been in?
So I was in Southeast DC, and it was cold, and we had to wear those class 3 reflective jackets.
Yeah.
Well, I was checking on one of my crews, and they're working in a garden style apartment, which is kind of like a U shape with a courtyard in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a place called Berry Farm, which has since been knocked down, that was down below the hill, infamous for just nefarious activities going on.
Named after Marion Barry, probably.
DC police are chasing a guy up into this courtyard. So I just kind of step aside, and I'm sitting there by the door, and they chase him into the building, and they bring him out in handcuffs. And this lady's up above me, out her window, starts yelling at me, "He's a knock. He's with them. He's the cops." Because I had on. So I looked at my jacket. It looked exactly like the motorcycle cops from DC.
Oh shit.
And one of the DC police officers just walks over to me, and he goes, "Hey, walk with me. We've got to get you out of here. They are not happy with you. They're going to come after you." So he walked me to my van. I left, and I never went back there again.
I tell people
I've
all
seen
the
people
time.
shot on jobs.
Oof.
And you're familiar with the Preakness?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pimlico Raceway up in Baltimore.
Yeah.
It's in a fine community. So we're just down the road from there, and I'm talking with the property manager, and here comes this guy in the front door. He's just a skinny little guy, and he's got all these trays of food, and here comes a big dude behind him, and they shot him right in his ass. I mean, boom, boom, right in his ass, and then walked out. Apparently, he was in some kind of love triangle with this other guy's girlfriend, and this is broad daylight. It's like 10 in the morning. Shot him right in the lobby, right in his ass.
I tell people to watch The Wire. If you want to see really how bad things are there, The Wire is a great show anyway. I think it's one of the best series
absolutely.
ever. But you need to watch
the low
that.
rises. I did a job in the high rises directly from season 1. Right there, I did an access control job in there.
It's just amazing.
What's crazy is like how many generations of families you see in the same projects over and over again. I watch On Patrol, and like there's one in Ohio that they go to, and one of the last episodes I was watching, it was like grandma's in there, mom's in there, son's out, creating riffraff with the neighbors, and the cop, he was like, "Listen, it's fucking February. It's 10 degrees outside. We should not be getting these calls right now." He's like, "Summer's not even here. And that's when we're really busy." He's like, "You better get this shit under control before the weather gets nice, or there's going to be some people going to jail." But it's just crazy. Like the cops, now winter's here, and they're like, "Fuck, at least we don't have to make as many calls as we do during the summer."
I get wild. And yeah, I definitely seen in working in these affordable housing, it's generational, and it's really sad to think. I mean, they keep voting in these same leaders, and guess what? They don't ever get anywhere.
No,
and you just want to tell them, but like, hey, pick your ass up,
right?
Go get a job. You don't have to live like this. But some of them, they don't care. That's the way they want to live. And that's unfortunate.
The sad thing is, the ones that do want to get out can't hardly afford to get out because there's nowhere to go that's affordable for them to go to.
Yeah, but like I think right now, I think we're on the precipice of the golden age of the blue collar worker. I think the next generation of millionaires is going to be kids that went to HVAC school, plumbing school, electricians. So like those blue collar jobs that were kind of poo pooed during my generation of graduating high school and then going to college, because that was the dream I was sold. If you want to get ahead in life, you got to go to school. You got to go to a 4-year college. You got to get your degree. That's your only way forward. I think now the next batch of ultra wealthy people are going to be kids that went to these trade schools. So there is a way out that is affordable.
No, I know that. I'm just saying the people that the 55-year-old person that's
Oh,
living
they're
in the
fucked.
projects,
They're fucked.
There's nothing they can do because there's nowhere to go that's affordable for them. And I feel sorry for them. Or you go through the bad neighborhoods and you see the house that's really taken care of. They got a nice yard. They got flowers in it. They take pride in their house. And they got shambles and crack houses all around them. Nobody's going to buy their house where they can afford to go somewhere else because all the shit around them. So they're stuck there till they die. And I just, you see that over and over. And that's why I like towns like this gentrification in Detroit is going on. They got neighborhoods that are this way, just tons of neighborhoods. And now people are going in and they're building them and the yuppies are coming in there and they're going to be, then you're going to price the other people out. So it's just a screwed up deal. Our whole country's that way. But I agree with you on the plumbers, electricians and stuff. I think that is the way out. And these data centers are going to provide a lot of these good jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going to get an electrician at anymore. Why would you as an electrician be doing house calls right now when you can be making $150,000 a year working at a data center, working 8 to 5 every day? It ain't
Beats me.
It's not going to happen.
The trades are where it's at. I'll tell you, I like to do a lot of offshore fishing, and a good friend of mine kept his boat down in Ocean City at a very exclusive marina. And guess what? All the people that had the $1 million boats on that dock, none of them were trust fund babies. They all had electrical companies, HVAC companies. They just did really well.
Yeah.
They killed it. So that's kids go get a trade and learn some business on the side, and you got it made.
Yeah, and I mean, you can, I'm sure it's shitty work. I'm sure being an apprentice is fucking horrible at being a plumber because you're going to get every duty call that they have. But in 10 years' time, you can have your own plumbing company and you can be printing money.
And have your own apprentices working for you.
And have your own apprentices working for you. And then guess what? You're going to make a little bit of piece of their pie because that just gets passed on to the consumer that needs the duty man.
Some of our clients that spend the most money and that I've become friends with that travel a lot and do a lot of things are in the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, those type businesses. You don't see doctors doing that. Doctors ain't got time to do shit anyways. I tell everybody all the time, you tell your son, oh, my son's a cardiologist. Oh, my son owns his own plumbing company. That's people respect. The guy that's got the plumber for a kid.
Right.
He got money and he got time to go spend it. The heart surgeon don't.
So the Preakness is in a shitty neighborhood?
Oh, horrible.
Really?
Absolutely horrible.
There's not any good neighborhoods in the big cities.
This year, I think they're redoing Pimlico, so they moved it to Laurel, but I'm pretty sure they moved it to Laurel Raceway. But even Laurel Raceway, oof, there's some of those maybe by the 15-minute block hotels around there.
That's kind of like Camden Yards in a shitty neighborhood, right?
It is and it isn't. I think Camden Yards gets kind of a bad rap. That stadium's awesome. Like if you ever get a chance to go there, it's such a great experience. And yeah, there's some crappy stuff going on around there, but I have no problem taking my kids there, and I park up the street, usually at a parking garage by like University of Maryland Medical System there, and I'll walk down there 5 or 6 blocks to get to the stadium, and I don't ever feel unsafe or anything. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm jaded because I worked in all these crappy neighborhoods, so I've seen some really bad stuff. But yeah, you're going to have some homeless people. You're going to have some maybe the 12 o'clock boys ride by or something, but that's more entertainment than anything.
But that most big cities, though, if they've got an older ballpark, it's in the older side of town. I mean, Fenway's in the good side. I don't feel uncomfortable at Fenway. But like the Cowboys in Arlington, where the Rangers play in Arlington, that was all a field 10, 20 years ago. It's nice. I mean, you don't feel, it's not unsafe there at all. But you go to a lot of the older towns, like we went to Detroit last year, and it was nice. It was downtown. I didn't feel unsafe there. But you get to an old ballpark in a lot of places, and it's a shitty part of town because nobody goes downtown no more. Everybody's moved to the burbs. And so what's left in the downtown area is a bunch of ghettos and stuff, and it can be dangerous. So
yeah.
It is what it is. Well, Matt, you've been very informative, and we've learned a lot today. So
good. I hope I answered a lot of questions for you. And like I said, I know enough to be dangerous without getting too deep in the weeds. Hopefully everybody kind of got something out of it. And data centers aren't this big, bad, scary thing that everybody thinks they are.
They've done it. There's a good portion of people that really feel like they are the devil incarnate.
I think it's because of all the secrecy around them. Instead of just telling
Right.
people what's going on, this is what the water we're using, this is how they'd have a big public meeting and say, this is what it's all about. Because it sounds to me like once we get these built, then we're going to start having more built around here and more built around here and more built around
Well,
here.
they just don't do a good job of like dumbing things down to relative terms. Like they just throw out how much energy they're going to need and how much water they're going to need. And it sounds like an astronomical amount of resources. But if they just compared it to something, I think a lot of people would feel a little bit better about what we're getting into here.
I think you're exactly right.
And here's the problem. People want these to go away. They ain't going away. You know what I mean? Like the ink is dried. These things were put into motion several years ago. So you're here.
I think that people get real scared when they hear NDA.
Yeah.
And usually what that is that the developers are coming in
Right.
and they're just trying to protect it because they're in competition. They want to be the first one building there.
Right.
And they don't necessarily want to tell the whole world what they're paying, where they're putting this,
Right.
and maybe what kind of incentives they're getting. It really protects both parties. And then the same for the township. Maybe we're giving the first guy a better deal or better incentives to start it off than the next guy. So
Yeah.
NDA doesn't scare me either, but I hear a lot of that locally. They're like, oh my gosh, the such and such county entered an NDA with this data center developer, and they act like it's the end of the world. Well, do you want to go around and tell everybody exactly how you operate or how you got your deal done? No,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
business.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, like Jeff said, we really appreciate you coming on here and kind of explaining things to where the average dummy can understand it. And so yeah, we appreciate you coming on here, and good luck this spring. If you're gonna get out turkey hunting, I know you're gonna get out offshore fishing. So have fun this spring and summer. If you see
Thanks.
Stoner,
You
tell him
guys
we
make
said
it
hello.
out this way. I know it's hard, but November is a beautiful time to be here. We
would
got
love to.
great fishing, great hunting, everything.
Yeah, I would like to come to the Waterfowl Festival, but just the wrong time of year for us.
I can understand that.
Fall's so busy. Thank you, bud. You have a good day. God bless you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
Appreciate you.
Talk to you later. Bye. All right.
Enlightening.
The data centers.
That's what I was afraid of. We're going to build one more after another after another. It's never going to be forever going.
I don't know, man.
100 or 200 jobs out here per one. That would be nice for our
That would be
communities.
great. That would be
really
great for
good.
the community. I just worry about, and that's another thing is like, you hear these stories on Facebook. Like I heard a single mom got kicked out of her house. Is it true or is that just misinformation on Facebook?
I think in Haskell it's happening with the people when their rent's due or their
it?
last month. Like you got a 6-month lease.
Right.
Well, but what do you do if you're that guy that
I understand. I understand.
You're price gouging.
Not price gouging. I'm competitively priced. I have competitively priced my house out.
Yeah. You got a little kid living in your house.
Yeah, for it's their spring break, so they go back to school on Monday. But
But that's what you bought the house for. And so you're doing exactly what you want, and you're going to get what it's coming for. And I don't blame you. Nobody does. But
Capitalism.
you also wasn't going to rent that house out to somebody local anyways.
no,
You're
we were
doing-
always planning on doing an Airbnb, so
And so
this
you-
kind of was a good situation.
Yeah, it's worked out good for you.
So far.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless you. Have a great week. Peace.
Bye, everybody. Watch for deer.
Bye.